Hey everyone, Raphael from RoXiva here, and today we're going to be talking about vibroacoustics. And this is a very important subject because there's a lot of misinformation and a lot of hype around vibroacoustics. There's a lot of brands out there. Some of them are pretty expensive, some of them are inexpensive and suspiciously so in terms of if you have to pay just the right amount for vibroacoustics because you want quality, you want longevity, and you want effect. Anything that buzzes is vibroacoustic. My cell phone has vibroacoustics in it. Like when I get a message, it vibrates. That's vibroacoustic feedback. That's haptic feedback. We're talking about haptics here. And the concept of haptics is basically turning sound into movement. Sound is actually movement, it's air movement. And if you look at a speaker cone, it moves, it vibrates, it waves in and out to create the sound. Basically, a transducer is a speaker without a cone so that it doesn't make a sound that you can hear. It takes the energy and it turns it into a sound you can feel. So this is a mid-range transducer. It can go up to about 100 watts. Usually we use a couple of these or three in our bed setups. This is a smaller transducer. It can go up to about 50 watts. And then this big daddy can go up to 300 watts. It's a very big transducer. So now what you can see on these transducers is they have cooling fins, because turning high power audio into movement creates heat. So we want to make sure that they're well ventilated. And that's actually one of the biggest drawbacks in vibroacoustic setups today, is that they don't have adequate ventilation. They're not made properly to have adequate ventilation. The transducers are mounted right into the foam with no air gap, and that can create overheating situations and what's known as clipping, where the sound cuts out, or actually the transducer burns out, or the amp burns out, or both. So yeah. So basically we've got some different amplifiers here. This is one amplifier. This is kind of a middle range amplifier. We've got smaller amplifiers right here, which we use with our vibroacoustic cushion, which we'll talk about in a minute here. This is a Big Daddy amplifier. This is a full range amplifier. I don't really use this one very much. If I do a custom build, probably around $10,000 or so, I'll use an amplifier like this, but I don't do very many of those. Most of the vibroacoustic beds that I sell are in the $3,000 to $4,000 range. And we've actually come out with a $1,000 one, which is actually right behind me here. It's more of a pad that can go onto any massage table or existing bed, and it has underneath it all the transducers. So this is the pad. And then this is that vibroacoustic bolster that I was telling you about. It's like a yoga bolster, and you basically line it up with your spine like this. So you can lay on it. You can put it on a zero gravity chair, and you can put it on the floor, your bed, your couch, massage table, anything. And it's great because it does stimulate all of the nerve bundles that go up and down your spine. That's where your chakras are. Your chakras go from the top of your head down to your below your sacrum here, kind of where your butt is, where man and lady parts are. And so when you lay on it, it does cover most of those, and at least the ones that correspond to physical sensation. The ones that are up here are more for third eye and connection to source energy. So really at the back of the neck is the beginning of the corporeal, the physical chakras that handle physical things like our movement and our proprioception, where we are in the world, and that's where most of our back problems are. So that's why the vibroacoustics are really good for that. So as part of this video, I'm going to be talking about this is called the Kunda Vibe because it goes up the Kundalini centers, and I'm going to show you how this connects. Now, how this connects is also how we're connecting all vibroacoustics to the RoXiva, and that is the main purpose of this video is to show you how to connect your RoXiva to any vibroacoustic setup, even if it's not one of ours, okay? We don't make you buy our stuff, all right? Yes, you have to buy the RoXiva if you want to have a RoXiva because it's the best light device in the world, period. And I am biased, so I admit that. But as far as the vibroacoustic stuff, I've got people that do do-it-yourself projects. I used to help people with do-it-yourself projects, but we've just gotten way too busy for that. It's just easier to put together a fairly priced solution and then offer it. So that's what we've done. So for example, this Kunda Vibe is $399 retail, okay? And we have promotions from time to time, okay? But it has the transducers mounted on the inside, and it has the power. Well, this is the, not the power, this is the speaker, the sound cable. The power cable goes to the amplifier. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you, starting with the RoXiva, how to make the connections to any vibroacoustic setup that has a 3.5 millimeter aux jack. And I'm going to show you what you need to do it, because that's also important. So I'm going to start with the back of the RoXiva. Now I'm going to get my power cord here so that we are doing things faithfully and properly. Okay, so we're going to connect the power cord to the RoXiva. We always want to connect the power cord to the RoXiva first, because we want to make sure that we have a physical electrical ground, because the power supply is grounded. And so always connect the power to the lamp first before you make any audio connections to it. So that being done, we're going to do the next step, which is connecting the 3.5 millimeter auxiliary cord to it. So this is a male-to-male 3.5 millimeter auxiliary cord. Headphone extension, well, not a headphone extension. This is basically a headphone cord. There are some that look a little different. They have this on one side, but on the other side, they have a red and white phono jack. That is for some other types of amps that we use. And if you need one of those, we'll tell you, or we'll send it to you, so you're not going to be stuck. For this particular purpose, the amplifier that we use for the Kunda Vibe only uses the male-to-male. So we're going to start at the lamp. Starting at the lamp, we're going to locate our 3.5 millimeter jack here, which is the round jack there, and we're just going to plug this into the lamp. All right, now the lamp does not have to be on. All right, it just needs to be plugged in and plugged into the wall so that there's a ground. So it does not need to be on to make the audio connections. As a matter of fact, I prefer that you have the lamp not on when you make the audio connections. Just easier. All right, so now we have our output from the lamp. All right, this is the audio output. This is going to control all audio coming out of the lamp. This would normally go to the headphones if you don't have a vibroacoustic setup. So it would plug in to the headphones. But because we have a vibroacoustic setup, we now have to split the signal coming out of the lamp. And for that, we use one of these, which is a preamp and headphone amplifier with a mixer, basically. So you have the ability now to control multiple output volumes using these knobs. So for example, if you had headphones, you'd plug them in here. If you have a vibroacoustic bed, you plug it here. And if you had a vibroacoustic cushion that you wanted to hug, you could plug it in here. And you could control the levels of each of those individually. All right. So I'm going to show you how to connect this. On the back of it, you're going to see that there's a bunch of jacks. One of them is marked input. So we're going to take what comes out of the RoXiva and we're going to plug it into the input. All right. So now we have the input of the amplifier, which is ready, and we're going to start plugging in the outputs. So for example, here is our amplifier for the Kunda Vibe. All right, now the connections that we make are power supply. Okay, so I'm going to show you, actually it uses the same power supply as the RoXiva. So I'm going to cheat and steal this power supply, and I'm going to plug it into the back of the amplifier. And then I'm going to take the this is coming out of the Vibe, all right, the vibrating bolster pad. And I'm going to plug that into the outputs of the amp. So they're red and black. So I'm going to plug red into red and then black into black, like so. And then I'm going to plug in that input. Now, I need a cable for the input as well. So, oh boy, do I have another male to male audio cable? I happen to have another one. So here we go. So now this is going to go into channel 1. By the way, this has a power supply too, but I don't have to plug that in. You get the point. So this is going to go into channel 1. And the other side of this is going to be the input of the amplifier. So now all of the amplifier connections are made. We've got an input to the amplifier, we've got an output from the amplifier, and we have the power supply going in. So this amp is ready to go. Turn the dial, it turns on, and then you increase your intensity with this knob. Okay. Now, a little bit of a conversation on intensity. You don't want to dial it all the way up, okay, because the vibration is there to support and ground the experience and to give your body the signals, but not to overwhelm the system. The entire theory of what we're doing here is that it's a light-based, light-first technology. So we always want the light to lead. The headphones give us the sound that supports the light, and the vibroacoustic gives us the vibration, which supports the sound, which supports the light. So in my opinion, those are the order of importance: light, sound, vibroacoustics. Okay. So as I said, the Vibe is now connected to the amplifier, and it's connected to the RoXiva. So when I power up the RoXiva, it is now going to be feeding a signal into this mixer that I showed you, and that signal will go out to the amplifier for the vibroacoustics, and the other side is going to get attached to the headphones. So here's the cable for the headphones, which is another one of those male 3.5 millimeters, and that's going to go into channel 2. So this is great because sometimes you want to boost up the signal of the audio, but not the vibration, or vice versa. And also, when you program your RoXiva, when you first get it, you can go into settings and tell the RoXiva to make the output signal louder so that you get more headphone volume and you get more vibration, and then back it off using these dials. I recommend putting the RoXiva at 110 for audio. You don't want to max it out at 120. That just stresses the system unnecessarily. This is a preamp, and it boosts the signal enough so that you don't have to max it out coming out of the RoXiva. So 110 on the RoXiva, and then you can use these dials to control the intensity for the headphones and the vibroacoustics. So basically that's it. I mean, it's not rocket science. The real key and the craft of this was creating the signals in the first place and making sure that they're all coherent and synchronized. And that I attribute to our amazing team of sound and light engineers that work diligently to create the absolute best sessions in existence today. So if you guys have any questions, I'm going to drop the information down in the bottom of the video here, as well as some links, and we'll see you soon.